This sequence of videos is going to introduce you to KnowUML, which is a tool that will help you better understand object-oriented concepts by understanding the unified modeling language, which is a diagram structure that helps describe object-oriented software, object-oriented items, and such like that. So we're going to kind of learn the concepts by learning the language that draws the concepts that then will help us realize those concepts in action. So when you open up KnowUML, we'll talk about installing that in the next sequence of videos, depending on how you want to do it. You're going to end up in a page like this. It's going to show you badges. These badges essentially equate to points. So in the class, you'll complete these badges, and when you complete badges, you'll finish out the maximum number of points you can earn for that activity. And you can earn partial credit for most of them along the way, and some of these are credits even if you don't get the answers right. Some of them are you get credit for getting answers wrong. But just understand that the badges are not points. When you see the goal to reach down the side, it's not 25 points, 20 points, 10 points. That's the number of these things that gets translated into points. And the points are probably going to be less than that number, but it's still going to be lots of points that you'll be able to earn in the class. So this is just a kind of a way to keep you motivated, know where you're at, know what you should be working on. But this is not learning. You could complete all the badges and still not understand the concept at all. Or you could complete halfway, and I got that. So whether or not you complete the badges is up to you. It's whether you need the points or want to maximize out the points, but you don't have to do everything to get an A in the class. You just need to understand it for yourself and then earn points wherever you can, wherever you want to. So we're going to really focus on a couple different types of diagrams here. Use case diagrams in this class are nice to have. This is not an object-oriented class, but use case classes are interesting. There's actually some other stuff you can play with them, and I'll have it pop up and show you. But you can see you can select them. This is a use case diagram. It talks about what humans do to interact with your system. So flight attendants can make an announcement on the plane, and the air marshal can refuel the plane, for example. This is again, I'm not going to teach you all this right now. There's other videos to focus on that, but this is the idea of that. What we really want to focus on is the idea of a class diagram. That's really what's going to be the core of what we have going on, and this is a class, and you'll learn more about that in a lot of videos, longer and better than this one. But when you see this in KnowUML, there's a couple different things you can do to practice getting better at it. So one of them is to answer questions about the diagram. How many public members would be in an instance of the loan class? Again, I'm not going to teach you all that here, but public members, well, a simple answer is there's two with a plus next to it. That's mostly the right answer here. How many operations? There's two of those. How many attributes? Well, there's three of those. Private members, there's three of those. And associations, well, there's none of those. And then you might not know any of those, but you can see I got all my answers right. If you get one wrong, who cares? Just keep guessing until you get it right. You'll get credit for the ones you get right, and you'll get more credit if you get more of them right eventually. And that'll show up as we can see over here in our badges. You can see our numbers went up a little bit. We got proper attribution here, which is if you mouse over this, it'll show you correctly count the number of attributes in class diagrams. And I can always go back to that diagram I was working on because maybe now what I want to do is code that diagram. And so I'll let you read this on your own. But basically what it says is go off and code this. And let's say I have no idea how to code this stuff at all. Well, underneath the coding, there's a hint. And so you can create the shell of the class. You can show you an example of one or all the attributes, operations, or associations, or you can show everything here. Now, use the hints. The hints aren't wrong. They're not illegal. They're useful for being able to show you what's going on. So here is what the answer should look like for this. This is a Python answer right here. This actually will do both Python and Java, and maybe by the time you see it, other languages as well. But note here, you can't actually copy and paste this. You do have to type it in yourself because you need to practice. You need to remember where colons go and semicolons go and curly brackets go and parentheses go and all the different things in the different languages. Python has no curly brackets or semicolons, but In this case, you can see how all it gets going. And there's a few nuances inside of here. So you can see in our diagram, when I talk about integers or doubles, number things, I initialize with a 0, where when there's no type defined, or if it's like a string or something like that, I initialize it to be none. Um, that's a Python thing to say, hey, it's not there yet. And then I'm defining methods and everything else that goes with that. Again, you'll be able to see in other videos how all this comes together. But you type in that code, and I'll show you an example of this class loan. And let's just say I do a pass. There's nothing inside of it yet. Well, you can see I'm not there yet. It's broken, and it's going to tell me here, oh, I haven't found any of these attributes. There's no rate, duration, amount. No, and I haven't found any of the methods. Well, of course not. I haven't coded them yet. But then you'll see how to make those happen, or you can use the hints to help you learn how to make those happen, whichever way your learning style is. All right, so then there's also sequence diagrams, and sequence diagrams basically is how different objects call each other. And the sequence diagram, again, you can answer questions about them. I'll leave that to another video to describe it. And you can write code about them, so I can actually get an example of all the code that would happen for this. And so now you can see in the sequence diagram, we're actually only being asked to write the magnet object. And so we create a class for the magnet object, which then initializes the ball because the magnet interacts with the ball, so it needs a ball to interact with, and that then it calls. We're realizing the repel method inside the magnet object, and so then we call the ball and we say, oh yeah, ball, you need to roll. And so this shows the interactions between objects. That's the idea behind sequence diagrams, is to show the calls that happens between objects in your system. The last type of diagram you don't need to worry about. We are not going to cover inheritance in the introductory Python stuff. It may or may not be in a functional state depending on the language and everything else you're working on. So don't worry about it. I don't even think you get points for it. In the first class. So this may or may not be applicable to you. Check with me, your instructor, or whoever your instructor is, as you get started and to see, but this might not be applicable, but just to show you it's there. Now, this is not everything you need to know about KnowUML. I just want to give you an idea of what the tool is and what you're going to use it for. Again, the idea is to earn these badges, and then these badges, when you get the goal, you get points. And again, after a certain point, you start getting partial credit and whatnot. And more importantly, though, is to really make you familiar with, hey, I see this diagram and it means something to me. And I understand what an object is. I understand what a class is. I can identify attributes and methods. And more importantly, I can code them and do things in code with them. And that's the hope of this tool. So there's a couple different ways you can run KnowUML. You're going to need Java on your machine. A somewhat recent version of Java, not super recent. I think 15 is what it is. It might be 11, but I think it's 15. And you can either run this directly or you can run this through a tool